this episode, we pick up where we left off, having just sailed 3 days across the Bay of Biscay. Now we're going to continue down the Atlantic coast of Spain and Portugal during the time allowed remaining on our Schengen visas.
True civilization. Only some countries would come up with this kind of thing for feeding beer. Might have known.
We were quite impressed with where the marina was relative to the town. It dropped us off pretty much in the middle of Old Town, near the Marina Nautico Square. And also near the promenade which runs around the headland of La Coruna. We also happened to arrive during their Maria Pita Festival, which runs throughout August. It's a full month of free concerts on multiple stages throughout the day and night. And during that time, the long street with restaurants serving tapas is absolutely packed.
Ahora sí es, ahora sí que es la Ceiba, Jorge, ahora la conozco.
So this is one choir that's about to sing right next to the marina.
You move from square to square and there's a concert in each one.
What kind of band? We went for refuge in this quiet church next to the crazy kids fest thing. There was an interesting difference between Spanish and French deli counters. The emphasis in Spain was definitely on dry cured meat, and that seemed to be the speciality, especially ham, and very, very wafer thin ham sold all over the place in different shops and supermarkets. This is the castle on a point in Coruna, and here is the other marina. This is the La Coruna marina, and our marina is over there, which is called Marina Nautico.
This castle was originally set on an island, and it was a fortification for defending the city. It was also later a quarantine site before letting people onto the mainland, and then later became the governor's house. Some of the notable exhibits include the cistern, as well as a replica of an Iron Age boat.
Look, up there.
Yes.
That reminds me of your mum.
I'm telling.
We've been searching for a shop that will sell electric scooters for over 6 months, but no luck yet.
This one reminds me of your mum too.
I'm telling now.
We walked up to the second marina in Coruna, called the Coruna Marina. It's next to the castle, and it's a little bit more remote from the city centre, but it does have a fuel dock that we used. It's very easy to use, and it's quieter certainly, but it's further away from the city centre. So if you want to have the fun of the tourist environment, we'd recommend the Marina Nautico as opposed to this Marina Coruna.
The other side of the marina is the beach. There's crashing waves today.
La Coruña is the highest population city within the region of Galicia, and it's the main financial and industrial center of the region as well. The Plaza of Humor was a small square you could just visit on your trip as you're walking through and sitting at a nearby cafe, and just take some pictures and translate the names of the cartoon characters and writers from Spanish to your chosen language.
Our plan for the next couple of weeks is very simple. We've got only about 3 weeks left on our Schengen visas, so we have to get out of the Schengen area, and the best way to do that is to sail directly south and get down to Morocco. So we're heading for Tangier. Here we're just starting to head south. We're at the top left-hand corner of the Spanish coast, and we're just starting to head down the coast towards Portugal now. But we're heading to Bayona first, after about a 24-hour sail. Winds are about 25 knots, gusting right now, and the waves are quite flat, less than 2 meters.
At this time of year, the wind was predominantly going south, so all we had to do was choose our weather windows and how long we wanted to stay in each port. The rough plan was to take in 4 more stops before reaching Tangier, and that would enable us to keep the night sailing down to 2 nights or less.
This northwestern coast of Spain is an area called Galicia, and the cliffs and the coastline in general are absolutely beautiful. Big cliffs dropping down into the sea that we're just cruising past, sucking in the view, and covered in windmills also, so they're very progressive, thinking of their energy, making energy cleanly. Okay, this is towards the end of a day of our sail from Coruna to Bayona. We're just listening to some Mozart and watching the windmills, waiting for the sun to go down. We're about to approach Finisterre. Everyone's having her candy. Don't finish her candy. Where are they all gone? Did they fall overboard? Oh dear.
Bayona is a small fishing town which attracts a lot of tourists in the summers.
Bayona, Spain. This is the Bayona Marina. Old castle up there. There's absolutely beautiful weather. Feels a bit like California. The latitude is like southern Oregon, and it does feel a little bit like that. We were thinking Grants Pass or somewhere like that. It makes me feel like it's the laundry day. Where are we?
I forgot.
Could you not wear some pants that are a little bit more, you know, flowery or brighter? Where'd you get those?
Turkey.
You like turkey?
Yes.
The cranberry sauce.
Yes. The dark meat.
Yeah, baby.
The tourism is driven not only by sailors visiting the marina, but also by hikers. Apparently, Bayona is on the route of the Camino de Santiago, the UNESCO World Heritage Site of the Christian pilgrimages during the Middle Ages. The sailing distance from Bayona to Cascais was 215 nautical miles, and it took us 2 full days and 2 nights to get there.
Coming up behind you. It's gonna get you. The waves picked up to, I would say, close to 2 meters.
Ooh. lot of them out here, which is very strange because we are 20 miles from the coast, and I just can't believe that a fisherman comes 20 miles to pick up a couple of crabs in 80 meters of water. So that's 200 feet of water, so there's something else going on. That just doesn't seem economically feasible unless there's a price of crabs is much higher than I understood.
The image shows the potential for all the lines to get wrapped up in the propeller. Even though we were going with the predominant winds, traveling south where the trade wouldn't start, we were only going on average about 4.5 to 5 knots for the whole trip, and which is why the trip took us a little longer than it should have. We didn't have wind for about 1 full day.
Rock and roll, baby. Yeah.
The boat requires about 10 knots of wind before it will start to sail. But we weren't in a rush and we were flexible on our arrival time, so we just took the wind as it came. And this time we had the light of the full moon to sail by.
Grande Islands off the coast of Portugal. We're about 40 miles north of the Lisbon estuary entrance, and we've got our Portuguese flag up, courtesy flag and quarantine flag ready, and we're gonna try and head for Cascais, which is a little port outside of Lisbon, so we don't have to drive all the way up the Lisbon River. We're rounding the Cape, coming into Lisbon. It's gusting up to 30 knots. We are chooching. Looks like it's going to be a nice day, but it's just very, very windy. We're coming into the port of Lisbon now. Not the port of Lisbon, the Lisbon area.
Cascais is a significant tourist site, not only for visitors but also for locals. Nobility and the Portuguese royal family set up summer homes there. Cascais has the highest real estate market and cost of living in the country. The town hosts many significant tourist events such as Grand Prix racing and America's Cup for sailing. On our walk into town, we saw the fishing docks and all of their equipment that they had stacked up on the side. So we got a close-up view of all the crab pots and lines, and the size of the line specifically we were interested in that was hanging below the water that could potentially catch in the prop. Cascais is considered a good neighborhood community to stay in while visiting Lisbon if you don't want to stay inside the city of Lisbon. The neighborhood is quite relaxed and cultural and has good restaurants. And of course, they have the signature Portuguese mosaic limestone sidewalks.
Even your average streets are beautiful.
There's a salted fish in Portugal called bacalhau, and it's very popular. It's salted cod. You rarely even find fresh cod in Portugal, but the bacalhau doesn't come from Portugal, it comes from Norway. Cod was used because of the low fat content within cod allows the salting to take place more efficiently. And it can be used for hundreds of recipes within the Portuguese cooking. After a few days in beautiful Cascais, we were on the road again down to Lagos. This was to be our last stop in Portugal on this trip. This time we only had a one night overnight sail, so it should be relatively easy. And again, the winds were following, heading us down south, and the current was in our favor as well. We're happy with all of our systems. We've been using autopilot pretty much 100% of the time during the day and the night, and it works flawlessly. Also, the radar we've been using to dial in not only far targets but also near targets to see if we can catch these fishing pots. And our 1100 watts of solar panels have easily kept our batteries topped up. Most of the time we spent out in the cockpit because the weather was perfect and it was quite comfortable to sit outside. When we did go inside Chloe, it was really nice as well because of the sound insulation. And this is what it's like sailing inside of Chloe.
Very bottom tip on the southwest coast of Portugal. We've just passed through a very dense fog patch where visibility was down to about 50 meters. We couldn't see anything. We were running the foghorn and we were concerned about hitting fishing pots, so we didn't want to run the motor. Because the propeller is probably more tangle prone than a folded propeller when under sail. So we were concerned. And then the Coast Guard is now having a conversation with this sailing vessel that something funny's going on. They've launched the whole 10th fleet of these guys, aeroplanes and Coast Guards and military vessels, and the sailing vessel is refusing to be boarded every time a rib full of some military guys gets close to it. They run away, and so we're listening to this saga on VHF, which is quite amusing. They've apparently set their EPIRB off several times, and which is why the 7th Fleet is responding to them from Portugal. Helicopters and aeroplanes and boats and all kinds of stuff, which is good to know if you set your EPIRB off, but these guys are now waving the search and rescue people off. So there's a bit of a saga going on, which is interesting to follow on the VHF.
The Lagos reception area is at the end of a pretty long channel. It's very thin and shallow in several spaces. There's no sandbar, but it is shallow. Even though there's no sandbar, you need to watch at the entrance. There is a very shallow bit at low tide that you need to watch out for. The rest is a bit deeper, but just at the entrance is a very, very shallow bit. Once we reached the reception dock at the end of this channel, Peter jumped off and went up to the reception area to check in with passports and boat papers. When Peter was finished and we received our berth assignment, we then gave them a quick call on the VHF channel 9 so that they could raise the bridge for us, otherwise we wouldn't be able to fit under the bridge with our mast.
So Lagos was in Portugal was very crowded, and we weren't really very enthusiastic about it. It was really full of what seemed to be mainly British tourists, and they were doing a lot of touristy stuff, just a huge number and density of people. So we only stayed a few days and then got out of there and headed over to Cadiz.
Now it's mid to late August and it was really packed there. I think it's the staging point for lots of people to go all around the world. We saw boats from everywhere. We were docked up next to a nice Canadian couple.
So Lagos has a little bridge in their little footbridge that you have to call the VHF channel 9 to get them to open it. Oh, solar panel alert. Thank you, Mr. Seagull. Thought my bypass diodes are working.
Sometimes at a distance it's hard to tell the difference between a fishing float and birds.
This is the Cadiz port, one of Spain's largest ports. Maybe it's largest, not sure. It's hot, isn't it, Captain? We got a lure 39 footer following on behind us, and they've followed us over from Lagos, so that's the Cadiz docks. The old town is in the middle there. Fenders are up, lines are ready, gate is open, sails are down. Now we get a lot of wind. Not the prettiest of places so far. We're hoping it's going to get a little better. This is the bay where we just came in. Downtown Cadiz was dead on Sunday when we arrived, but during the week it kind of filled up and it was quite busy and fun. The streets are kind of narrow and pretty and typical old European style, but not as nice as Cascais, where we had come from before. That was really fantastic.
The city's come alive. The city's come alive all of a sudden.
And so our time in the Schengen has come to a close. We need to leave to reset our visas to come back again later.
We left Cadiz about an hour before sunrise, and the sun is rising now. We're out of the channel safely, and we're headed to Tangier, Morocco. It's about 60 miles, so it should be anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, depending on the wind. There's not much wind this morning, so but we're going through the Gibraltar Straits, and it's going to be quite windy, so we're going to be chooching.
Top of that is two triangles facing into each other, top to bottom. So that's a west safe water, Cardinal buoy. And that was I don't know what that means, but it was Spanish. Probably Spanish.
And check your navionics. Navionics routed me to the east of the west safe Cardinal buoy.
So there's Cadiz. Not such a pretty place. The Marina Puerto America was way out beyond the container docks. They could really improve things by relocating the marina to the downtown area, because that would attract tourists and yachties, and it would be a kind of a win-win. And it's run by government, so it's kind of low end, no Wi-Fi, but it is handy. It's a good spot and a good location.
We are halfway now from Spain to Morocco. We have the Morocco courtesy flag up and ready to go. We made sure to get it the right way up. And it's been very, very calm so far. We've been out here 5 hours down the Andalusian coast, but we know when we clear Spain, the bottom of the coast, and hit the Straits, the wind's going to pick up exponentially. So we're preparing for 25 to 30 knot gusts. So we got everything ready for reefing.
Here we got the Straits of Gibraltar now. We're coming across, and we're hard onto the wind, as hard as we can go. And beautiful day. We got a full jib up. We've got a full main up. We've reefed the jib in a bit because it was just kind of chafing on the lifelines there. So we put in a half a reef or so to just pop the jib up above the lifelines, and then sheeted it in as hard as we can. And but we are on the wind, so we're not losing any headway. And we can see Africa ahead of us. So there's one continent, there's the other continent, there's another sailboat crossing over there. I think it is a Canadian flag, but I'm not quite sure. The boat's just too wobbly to make it out with the binoculars. easy, lovely sail, except for the fact we're going dead into the wind. Oh well. As we left the Spanish coast, about to cross the Straits, the wind held steady at about 20 knots, so it was very easy sailing. And it wasn't until we got closer to the channel that the wind started to pick up quite a bit. Middle of the Gibraltar Straits channel. We're playing dodgers with the little chips that are flying around in here. That guy's a little bigger than us, so we'll just let them go ahead. There's another one over there. 10 miles from Tangier. And we're just avoiding boats coming out of this traffic zone, separation zone here. We got some fast cargo ships coming that we got to avoid, and we got to make it down to Tangier here. Port, about 5 miles out of Tangier, and there's a warship coming out of here. Looks pretty new. A stealth ship. He's whizzing out here.
Hey, what do you see?
Very busy Moroccan people that are just having a little siesta. We don't want to disturb them because they're extremely busy.